Hello everyone, so I'm Sam and I'm here to explain why modern physics says none of us should even exist. And hopefully, more happily, how we can get around this by just being able to count and use our £4 billion underground super collider. Whatever, man, we'll come back to that. So everything around us, this stage, you, our very esteemed judges, and even my terrible haircut are all made of what we call matter. And matter is made of atoms which are discrete lumps of matter which are also consistent of smaller blocks known as protons, neutrons and electrons. Now what you might not know is that protons and neutrons actually consist of even smaller units called quarks. So in fact everything around us is actually made up of a discrete set of subatomic particles, much like a Lego set has repeating blocks. Now quantum field theory tells us that for every one of these discrete matter particles there must be an opposing antiparticle which has exactly the same physical properties but an opposite electrical charge. Indeed, the antiparticle of the electron, the positron, is used in modern medical imaging. You might have heard of the positron emission tomography or PET scan. So antimatter, although you might have not been aware of it, is actually nothing new, and this gives us a really big problem. Because modern cosmological models tell us that the Big Bang must have created equal amounts of matter and antimatter. But anyone who reads any Dan Brown knows what happens when antimatter and matter meet. They annihilate and create only light. So the universe should just contain light, and we should not exist. So how do we get around this rather sad fate? Well, the answer might be provided by the mechanism of CP violation. The working physics hypothesis is that the universe was initially created with equal amounts of matter and antimatter, but the antimatter decayed away slightly quicker than the matter. This is CP violation. And this created a slight imbalance, a slight excess of matter over antimatter in the early universe. Now when the matter and antimatter annihilate, you get lots of light and a small amount of matter left over from the excess. And this is exactly the state of the universe we see today. Now being physicists, we can't simply accept this. We need to look for sources of CP violation. So at the LHC, we smashed together protons to create a microcosm of what the universe was like just after the Big Bang, complicit with equal amounts of matter and antimatter. If we then look at the number of decays of particles and antiparticles that we see in the LHC detectors, we can look for significant discrepancies in the decay rates of particles and antiparticles, and we can find sources of CP violations to back up our theory about the evolution of the universe. So in summary, we can see that by looking at decays in the LHC and simply by being able to count, we can work out where we came from, how we came to be, and why we're even here. And all this without mentioning the Higgs boson even once.
Good work. Ben.
That was another very ambitious topic to cover. And no props, nothing to distract.
You're telling me I've got to write a thesis now.
Really nice delivery, lots of content in there. There was one point when I'd started to worry when you mentioned CP violation and not explained it. I thought, oh, where are we going here? And then you explained it. So that sort of ticked my box. You didn't necessarily. You said that we look at the collisions in the LHC and we're looking for sources, for examples of CP violation. And you said that we count them, but you didn't. What I wanted to know is where are they coming from? What are they? Is it a particular thing that's causing it instead of just sort of saying yes they are there? So I just wanted a little bit more information on that.
Sure.
And one criticism about your lovely way of using your hands to explain things is that you used your hands right in front of your face,
yeah.
Which meant that we couldn't see you talking. So just try and open up a bit more.
Yeah.
But really, really interesting, and it's such a tricky topic, and lots of people close down immediately when they're getting something that difficult. And I don't think you gave them opportunity. I think people would have stayed with you all the way through that.
I wish I'd shut down before I did the pitch. It would have made it easier.
Yeah, great delivery, Sam. Very confident. Massively challenging topic to discuss in 3 minutes. I have to say this is not my area whatsoever. So for me, there was a lot of information coming at me in 3 minutes. But that's a good thing and a bad thing. Because I really liked the applications and everything, and but the content delivery very, very good. Just a little bit. It's not a criticism necessarily, but just a little bit too fast or maybe too much content
Okay.
for me, just as a non-physicist.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd actually agree with David. I think that it's great stuff. I mean, it's a bit too much, and I think at the end could have a little bit lightening up. I mean, maybe, you know, I thought CP violation sounded like rather unpleasant crime, for example.
Well, you remember what I likened to it when we did the stand-up. So yeah, it does sound pretty.
Yeah, it
bad.
sounds pretty nasty. And the Dan Brown comment was really good at lightening up that little bit. And I think later on you could have done with some more
Maybe more
lightening
analogies.
things.
Mm.
Yeah, more analogies, more stories, because
Okay.
you're just trying to cram one little bit too much in. I think. Yeah, it's great stuff. Yeah.
Very good.
Oh, okay.